I tend to not remember to do it. So I'm not a good person.
All right. Do we have an official timer or how?
Should we that empty this one?
Oh, well, we usually use it on our phones.
Oh, all right, yeah.
And then if you can flash to, where are they standing at the?
Over there, there's a mic, there's two mic stands.
Max or Noah? Yeah, I'll ask him.
Joe, do you know the Wi-Fi code for Claire?
Wi-Fi? Yeah.
Yep, that's fine.
The agenda. Oh, there's our flag over there. Okay, that's behind you. I'm like, how can we do the salute to the flag? It's, oh, there it is, over there. Oh, glory. In its glory.
Hail Mary, full of grace.
Thank you. Sveti Maria, Matka Boska. Holy Mary, Mother of God.
Pray for us sinners now and at the hour of our death. Amen.
Mio Ojciec i Syn i Duch Świętego. Amen.
Ange Père, Fils, Saint-Esprit. That's the French one. That's all I spoke. French.
In nomine Patri et Spiritus Sancti.
And that's Latin. When I went to school, when I started in kindergarten.
Okay.
Oh,
Well,
What mic? Amber, your mic might be live too.
Chrome's wasn't releasing on mine, wasn't taking board docs. Go down to the one with the
I haven't said
put
anything
it here.
disparaging yet, so.
Oh, go ahead.
Doesn't mean I won't throughout the night, but
Microsoft Edge? Oh, wow, yeah, I've never had to do that one.
we always cried, we should have it in another spot. Now I miss the community room, right?
right.
Like leaving home. Oh my God. Oh.
Nope, okay. Go ahead and do your form.
Joe, when you're free.
Think this one. So I got your note on the food service managers.
Which one you got, the top one?
No, it was that one. Yep.
Yep. No, I've never used this edge before.
Nope.
So,
It just has to be advertised.
Yeah.
So we'll get through this and then we'll worry about that.
Yeah. We'll discuss it in executive session.
Yep.
and I think everything's ready to go.
Yep. We're just a couple more. I have all this paraphernalia.
I have all my instructions, but they're very,
Carlene?
I fully intend.
She's supposed to be. I'm certain she's probably stuck in traffic.
Who's that? Oh,
Carlene, our
Yeah.
secretary.
she's coming from Hartford, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you did,
She is.
oh,
She's right here.
Okay.
I think you guys
Might as well wait for her then.
just
Kevin's not coming.
Kevin's not coming.
He's not?
No. So when Carlene's ready, we're good to go.
Yeah.
Oh, good. Pressure's off, Trisha.
Works for me.
Now I'm the only one with the extra job.
Yep. Now you're the only one.
I was in all righty, thank you, Joe.
no problem. You're all set, you're in?
I'm in.
Sweet. Alright. You're all set, you're in.
Hi, Colleen, congratulations.
Oh, thank you. You too.
Yep.
All set, and then, right?
So far.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean I will be later, but
No,
so far.
just making sure.
Thank you.
She's just gonna sign it.
Flags over there. Look at all this stuff. I just want Carlene to have a
Get settled.
I'm sorry?
We have a lot of people signed up for public
No.
comment.
No, we have some, but not.
Not a lot.
Yep, we're good. Kevin's not here. All set?
I am all set. It's just the internet connection, but that's not my problem.
All this equipment, never. Okay. Everybody's good? All this stuff. It's November, right? Okay. Good evening. So I'm going to call the November 2021 meeting of the Norwich Board of Education to order at 5:34. Thanks for your patience while we got ourselves all sorted up here. Because we are in the school, you have to wear a mask. You can remove it when you're speaking and then replace it. If that's something you want to do, that's totally fine. So the first, salute to the flag. Sing, would you like to lead us?
Sure. I pledge allegiance to the flag of United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
The second item on tonight's agenda is the approval of the minutes from the October 12th.
Aaron Daniels, so moved.
Yvette Giacaruso, second.
Is there any discussion, corrections, additions? Carlene, did you have something?
Oh, no,
Oh,
no. I was
sorry.
sorry.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And that was unanimous with Kevin's absence. Kevin Saitani is not able to be with us tonight. The next item on the agenda is public comment, and we do have some folks signed up, and there will be an opportunity to be recognized from the floor if you would like to do that too. We also, if the board will notice, we received 2 email public comments, and you all have a copy of each of those. So please review those. We will follow up from there. I'm going to read my public comment statement right now. It's out of order on my screen, of course. So since our October meeting, I have worked with our attorney to create something to read before public comment that I hope makes it more, that I hope explains the process better and is more clear. I'm gonna do this because it's long. All this equipment. So the board welcomes public comment as it represents an opportunity for members of the public to express their views to the board on matters within the board's authority. On behalf of the board, I wish to remind those offering comments that, consistent with our bylaws, we ask the speakers be Norwich residents or taxpayers, and please limit their comments to 3 minutes. There is a maximum of 30 minutes for each subject matter. Thank you so much. All speakers must maintain appropriate standards of decorum. No boisterous, inappropriate conduct is permitted. We expect comments to be respectful and civil in tone. We do not permit name-calling, raised voices, or vulgarity. All comments must be directed to the board and not to an individual board member or individual member of administration. As noted, public comment is your opportunity to convey your views to the board, but is not a question and answer session. The board and the administration will not be responding to questions or engaging with dialogue during the public comment period. The board and the administration will determine whether, when, and how to address questions that arise during the public comment period. When you come to the microphone, you do need to state your name and your address for the record. And there are 2 microphones, one on either side. You can use either one. Close that. You have the list?
Yeah, Christina Carter is the first one.
Christina Carter, because Amber somehow doesn't have a microphone.
She does.
Christina Carter, 126 Scotland Road in Norwich. Parents know about all the issues with violence by this point. We know that there have been guns. We know about assaults, whether the police were called or not. We know that staff and kids have been harmed by the blind eye that our top administrator has turned to the needs of the school. We know that the teachers and administrators we love are leaving daily, 89 at last count since the end of the year. They're not leaving the field of education, as our top administrators have said. They are leaving the district to work under administrations that don't bully them, intimidate them, that don't ignore, dismiss, or downplay their concerns. Our beloved Moriarty principal left our school to take the exact same position at another district. She did not keep her reasoning secret. They aren't leaving because of the field, they're leaving because of administration. Our kids are the ones suffering every single time it happens, but you know what? None of the parents I've talked to fault the teachers. We fault those making the conditions unbearable. I still haven't figured out how nepotism hasn't been discovered until now. I fault the board for not having better oversight on creation of positions or the hiring practices of central office, but you can't unring a bell. The board needs to investigate the high-level positions created under our NPS superintendent and awarded to friends and former colleagues. I, for one, would like to know when we decided to pay 3 assistant superintendents. As far as I know, we've always had 1. I bet those positions pay well. The band is back together was a tweet from our top admin after creating positions for 2 friends from her previous district. In the last 6 weeks, I've become an unofficial spokeswoman for the district parents and even some teachers who are too afraid to come forward. Being the spokeswoman was great, but just yesterday I went from being the spokeswoman to being the mom of a victim. There was an incident at Moriarty yesterday. A child started punching other kids at random at breakfast. Unfortunately for my daughter, it escalated, and the child wrapped their hands around my daughter's neck. A para had to intervene. More unfortunate was that I had 2 unrelated phone calls with the principal after this happened and was never told about it. I found out from my 7-year-old. When I then asked the principal, she said it had not come across her desk yet, but would investigate when it did. Either the principal lied to my face or is so inept at her job that she didn't know about a serious physical incident that occurred in the center of the school hours before. Our principal was a last-minute choice and came with no experience of overseeing a school or anything similar. She is ill-equipped and ill-prepared even on her best days, and our kids are clearly paying the price. What happened? We don't live in Detroit or Hartford, we live in Norwich, a city of 40,000 people. How have you allowed this to happen? Unfortunately, we're not the only family facing the same story. Our kids are in danger, the teachers are leaving, corruption is real, and it's all on your watch. How many times are we expected to hear sorry from both our school admin and the top before things change? The time is now.
Christina, that's your 3 minutes.
Okay, thank you.
Jessica Quay.
Jessica Quay.
My name is Jessica Quay, 321 Old Canterbury Turnpike in Norwich. I stand here in support of all Norwich Public Schools staff and teachers who have been a constant support to our children throughout this superintendent's term. If not for these teachers, we would have left this city as well as other admins and support staff who have fled over the last 2 years. Coming back from summer break to hear that all of our admins have left our school in particular, as well as my special education son's supporting teachers, special ed, and speech, was gut-wrenching. I beg of this Board of Education to do their part in investigating why this is happening. It is not because of COVID, it's because our teachers deserve more, and they are trying to find it elsewhere in other districts. The parents here are not happy. Unfortunately, there's only 2 of us. But we haven't been since August 26th. Imagine how our teachers feel.
Is there anyone else who would like to speak during public comment? Is there anyone else who would like to speak during public comment? And the third and final request, is there anyone else who would like to speak at public comment? Okay, public comment is closed. Thank you both. So my chair report is very short this evening. The first is, in October, I reported that there would be a city school building committee that was going to be in mid-October. That meeting was postponed and has been rescheduled until November 16th, which I believe is next Tuesday. It will be at 6:30 and it will take place in the community room. This is open to the city of Norwich. This is your opportunity to speak with the design architect, to hear what they're proposing and the findings. There are several steps in the project plan as far as data gathering and information like that. So they'll be sort of doing a status report and explaining next steps. I am currently sitting on that committee, but when the new board is sworn in December, I will no longer be a member of that committee, and Christine, you'll be continuing to serve. Thank you. So, but I will be at that meeting on the 16th. Speaking of a new board, so tonight is the last night that the 9 of us will sit together in this forum as a board. I'd like to personally extend my thanks to each and every one of you for your service to the city of Norwich and volunteering in this way. Tricia, thank you for your support and your perspective to me personally over the last 4 years. We joined the board together, and I've appreciated you answering my questions based on your lengthy experience in the field. Singh, congratulations.
Thank you.
And as you move on to your new role in the city council, I hope that you continue to be a champion for our students. Dr. Giacaruso. So Yvette was first elected to the board in 2007 and has served 7 terms, which is 14 years. You've been a tireless advocate for Norwich Public Schools, and your presence on the board will be missed. And I didn't think about this today, but I should have made you sing. I don't know why I didn't think about that
Sing
until
for my retirement.
earlier today. So that is my November
Thank you.
report. It is your turn.
Thank you. I also would like to thank those who are leaving us tonight. On behalf of the students and staff of the Norwich Public Schools, I would like to express our heartfelt thanks to Chairperson Romansky, former Chairperson Dr. Giacaruso, Mrs. Staley, and Mr. Kalsa. Being a member of the Board of Education is significant sacrifice, usually of family time and personal time. And these Board of Ed members have prioritized the needs of students and staff. Every decision that they've made has been in the best interest of your children. We will miss them very much. We thank their families for sharing them with us and for understanding and supporting their unwavering dedication to community service and to leadership. Mr. Kalsa has been elected as an alderman, so we wish him well in his new leadership role. And Dr. Giacaruso has offered, or I maybe have asked her, and she offered to sing at every convocation that we have. When I was first introduced to the schools in Norwich, teacher after teacher, staff person after staff person came right up, and walked past me and everyone else in the group and said to Dr. Giacaruso, "I look forward to your songs at every convocation." So we hope you join us. And we also welcome our newly elected board members, Bob Aldi, who served as on the Board of Education in the past, Joshua Chapman, Heather Fowler, and Greg Perry. We look forward to working with you and championing the needs of our students and staff together. Thank you for your willingness to serve, and thanks to your families in advance for the time and commitment that you are willing to spend. I gave you a snapshot of our COVID weekly data. It's been thankfully no more than 15 cases a week, with the lowest of 5. Certainly hoping that that's trending in a positive direction. It does look like that in the city, given it to you since October of 20. Talked a little bit about, I was asked to give an employee vaccine update. We're still at about 97% of staff are fully vaccinated. I also, as a result of the PTO coffee hour that I held with parents, there was interest in the staff reports of unusual incidents. So my report, as well as all the other reports, are loaded for the public in board docs as an attachment. But the staff report of unusual incidents, my understanding is this came about several years ago when staff members were injured or assaulted. And it's a mechanism to share with me and you and to have on record at the police station if needed. In 2019, I didn't receive any. In the 2020 school year, we received 4. And this school year, we received 5. One of the 5 incidents at Mahan School was categorized as the staff member reported as an assault. It was sent on their behalf to the Norwich Police Department for further follow-up. And so we do take those matters very seriously, and we make sure that we're communicating them to the Board of Ed, but we will also communicate them to you. Our crisis plan and safety upgrades got a considerable overhaul in the last 2 months. As you know, we have been doing ALICE training. Norwich Public Schools staff and students are trained in ALICE. It's a federally endorsed and research-based safety protocol. We have a partnership with the Norwich Police Department, and all staff were initially trained in June of 2021. And we will train all new staff annually and offer refreshers. It offers really training beyond the concept of lockdown. Our 4 procedures that we practice regularly are fire drills, hold all students, lockdown, shelter in place, actually that's 5, and evacuation. Our schools are now also supported and equipped with a number of supports and supplies to assist our teachers and staff in the event of an emergency. Each classroom in the district has what's called a go bag that contains a Mylar blanket, and that's for warmth and shelter in case there's a fire drill and students are having to wait outside until a bus arrives on cold weather day. Basic first aid supplies and a first aid booklet, bottled water and snack items that are allergy friendly, diabetic supplies, and gloves if those are applicable. Each classroom also has a red folder, and the contents include an updated student contact list, family contact information, individual evacuation plans for students with disabilities, an egress map, a ready reference sheet including all of the evacuation, lockdown, fire drill procedures, a pen and paper. Each classroom also has a go bucket in the classroom. That is in case of an extended lockdown. Contents include a garbage bag and gloves and emergency supplies, games and books for students. These are all recommendations that came with our ALICE training that we were able to follow up on and purchase this summer. With our COVID grant funds, we've also purchased the Raptor Visitor Management System for all schools. Raptor provides a consistent, standardized system to track visitors and volunteers. It's especially useful for outside providers that come into the school that work on our buildings. It is also useful during emergencies to know what additional adults were in the school. Raptor reads the visitor's driver's license or other approved ID and it compares the information against several databases, the police, sex offenders, school safety alerts, such as parent restraining orders, custody orders, in order to alert school administration and Norwich Public Schools and the police if a match is found. Once cleared through the system, a visitor badge is produced, and that includes a photo, name of visitor, date and time, and destination. Stanton Elementary School additionally is piloting several security enhancement hardware devices. One is a handheld, a very small door barricade. So a part of the ALICE training is that you barricade the door. And if you had to barricade a door with a very large object, especially for our littlest students, that would take a lot of time, and it would be difficult for them to do. So there are handheld devices that can just snap on to the hinge of the door. Depending upon the type of door, there are different kinds. In the case of a lockdown, classroom doors, some have windows, and so in the case of a lockdown, there are metal shutters to prevent any intruder to see into the classroom. There's also window film that can secure windows for any attempt to smash or break windows. So the Stanton teachers and staff are going to pilot these items, see how user-friendly they are, and provide feedback to the district crisis committee. Then each of our products, if they get the go-ahead from Stanton, will make recommendations to install very quickly in all schools. And our next level of work is that although each school has a reunification site and evacuation site, the entire district also needs a reunification site plan, and we are in the midst of creating and signing interagency agreements with the sites that have been good enough to let us evacuate to their sites. The district had not had a district reunification site previously, so we are investigating areas that might be big enough to accommodate us. The next item is bus monitors. Parents have inquired about having bus monitors on every bus in order to help with student behavior management. Currently, we have 25 monitors on special education buses. There are 65 buses without monitors, 51 are large buses, and 14 are mini buses. The approximate cost of a bus monitor on every bus would be about $2.2 million. We haven't budgeted for that, but we are making progress in terms of, on a case-by-case basis, where needed for safety. The Transportation Department is authorized to add a bus monitor where needed. And Jamie Bender, and I forgot to say at the top of my report, I apologize, but Jamie Bender is our special ed director. She's unable to join us this evening, and so is Bob Serpensky. He's our business administrator. They are typically here each month, so their reports will be available to you in board docs. So Jamie has had the board certified behavior analysts start training the bus drivers in de-escalation techniques and safe bus behavior. That started about a week or two ago on a Friday. In terms of other behavioral support in the schools and the classroom, we have placed an urgent emphasis on hiring more board certified behavior analysts and RBT's registered behavior technicians. And we recognize the need to do this before the school year started, so we started hiring in April, June, and then over the summer. By law, all of our administrators and crisis team members are trained in physical management techniques with an initial training and annual refreshers. Additionally, our safe school training, bully recognition and response training, identifying and addressing school violence, sexual harassment training, student mental health awareness intervention and referral, youth suicide awareness, positive behavior intervention supports, restorative practices, social emotional learning, and de-escalation techniques are trainings that our staff have recently participated in. Last year, Norwich Public Schools employed 5 board-certified behavior analysts and 6 RBTs, and they were largely stationed in a district site to be deployed to the schools when needed. This year, in addition to that team, we have BCBAs and RBTs stationed within each school, and responsible for specific schools. This year, we budgeted for 8 BCBAs, and we currently have 7, plus a behavior specialist who's on their way to becoming a BCBA. And we budgeted for 22 RBTs. Currently, we have 18, and we plan to continue hiring until all of those positions are filled. And if the teachers and staff and principals tell us that we need more than that, then we will hire more. Our middle school clubs have launched, and they've already, we surveyed the students to find out what kind of clubs they would like to participate in. We had not had clubs or sports in the past, and at Teachers Memorial Magnet Middle School, they have a morning news club, a chess club, student council leadership, maker space, sports conditioning, and fashion art. At Kelly Steam Magnet Middle School, they have theater, anime, art, Ed Rising, interior design, crafty kids club, fitness, and the walking club. And we're really thankful to the staff and teachers who came forward and volunteered to champion those clubs by being the club advisors. There is a very small stipend attached, but they're doing it out of the love for our children, so we really are thankful for them. Parents have expressed that they want and need a more comprehensive way of volunteering in our schools. They feel disconnected and they want to help. So we designed a survey for principals asking what volunteer needs they have in their building, and then a survey for prospective volunteers, preferences and availability for parents and family members. Once the survey is complete, volunteers will be matched to their interest and the needs that the schools have. They will be trained if they volunteered to be a helper in a classroom or reading, they may be trained in a particular technique. Of course, background checks are completed, and then they're trained in confidentiality, and then placed, and will be checked in on to make sure their needs are being met and that the needs of the staff in the school are being met. Today, Norwich Public Schools began the Screen and Stay program. Governor Lamont announced this about, I think, last Thursday. In certain lower risk situations, students and staff who are not fully vaccinated are able to remain in school after close contact and not quarantine. And the reason is because research shows there is extremely low transmission risk in schools. Patrick McCormick, our Uncas Health Director, has given permission for the Norwich Public Schools and other schools in our district to use this protocol. We plan to participate. We launched today. Governor Lamont believes the initiative will bring immediate relief to the frequent and repeated quarantines that continue to impact student learning and place a burden on families. Unvaccinated students and staff are eligible to participate only if the close contact occurs under the following conditions. If it's during the school day, if indoors on a school bus or in classrooms, if both persons are consistently masked, if indoors or on a school bus during brief unmasked periods like breakfast or lunch, if they are 6 feet apart, if outdoors, masked or unmasked, but supervised by school staff, which of course they are at all times at either recess or phys ed, and as long as the close contact remains asymptomatic. At first, we thought that the health department would require parents to do a symptom checker every day, and that would require either the nurse or the principal to validate every day, but they changed their plan Sunday night. I think it was Sunday night, it might have been Monday morning, and said that as long as a parent or staff member for themselves consents to participate in this, because they can always quarantine if they feel more comfortable, and then they consent to doing the daily symptom tracker, and that's validated by the principal or nurse, then they are able to participate. Of course, if they become symptomatic at any time, then they would have to complete that 10-day quarantine. This is something that's supported by the Commissioner of Public Health, the Commissioner of Education, the Connecticut Education Association, and the American Federation of Teachers in Connecticut. And we know that parents, really are appreciative of this choice. Now that COVID vaccine is available to children aged 5 to 11, and I have just asked for the permission of the UNCUS Health Director, we are easing into more in-person parent and family engagement in our schools. And so that's already been communicated to the principals. Please check in with your principals as they are very thoughtfully planning opportunities to increase that access. Still, the unnecessary sort of dropping off of a note, dropping off or picking up of something, we'd like to be more cautious and not open up fully at this time, but the very important family events that are so treasured and cherished, we'd like to start planning those now. PTO meetings can happen in the schools. We surveyed the principals. Less than 30 folks usually attend. It's absolutely possible to have appropriate spacing between folks. Some of our PPT meetings, parents have asked for virtually. Some they've asked for telephonically. Some in person. That's been accommodated. Parent conferences have been very flexible in the same way. Some parents are saying we love the Zoom parent conference because we can't get there from work, or we can't leave our young infant behind. So if it works for families, then principals and teachers will continue to do that. But if parents have a need to meet in person and express that to their principal, that will be accommodated as well. And then I've just listed for you some of the upcoming events, and that concludes my report.
Harley?
I just had a quick question in regard to the COVID vaccine that's now available to the 5 to 11-year-olds. I don't know if there's any discussion about potentially doing a vaccine clinics for
That was my
students.
question.
I should have put that in my report. I apologize. I did do a report out on that recently. So for the 5 to 11-year-olds, before they were approved, I reached out to UNCUS Health to see what the plan was for in-school clinics. You might recall that when the 6 to 18-year-old students were eligible to receive the vaccine, we held a clinic here at Kelly and a clinic at Teachers. About 200 students were vaccinated just during those two clinics. And then we held a clinic this summer at the summer school. Ashley Favello ran the summer school and was kind enough to champion that effort with our nursing coordinator, Laura Dietrich. We didn't get many students coming, but it was an outside mobile pop-up tent, and there were a couple of students that participated. UNCUS Health had us work through UCFS because they didn't have the capacity to come in and do a clinic for us themselves. I reached out to UCFS, and they're not going to be planning any in-school clinics or school site clinics. They feel that it's best done at the pediatrician's office or some of their pop-up clinics, but they are having, and we are advertising kid-friendly clinics where they will have, the event or venue will be more oriented to a younger patient. But the Department of Health is offering, they call it the yellow van service. And so I signed us up for the yellow van service. And then if they consent to come to Norwich, then my plan is to check in with the parents in each school to see how they would like to handle that. My initial feedback from the PTO coffee hour, every parent there, I think, said, I want to be with my child. So we feel it will be different than the middle school clinics where the children were unaccompanied. And so, we're imagining it could be during the school day if parents are available and can come by, or it could be at night, but the parents specifically said it would be helpful to them to have it on a Saturday. I also want to know, is it something that they feel their children will be more comfortable inside or outside? And so that's yet to be determined. They have received my request, but they haven't planned anything with me. Yeah, and I don't know if they'll come to every school site. I would like them to come back to Kelly and teachers because, you know, we have fifth graders that became sixth graders that missed the opportunity to get vaccinated and younger seventh graders who are now eligible.
Singh?
Well, thank you very much for adding all the.
Singh, you have to, I didn't realize that we didn't have mics out, yeah, and you gotta
Okay.
talk loud, cause
Just bring it closer to you.
So thank you for including in your report the behavior support, all the things that we are providing to our school district, and we are open to adding more positions. So this was one concern that I have. And second, my question is how often or we have this Alice training done in our school district? And is there a certain time frame that new employee need to go through that training within certain time frame, or?
So it takes about a half a day. And in retrospect, we could think about offering it at new teacher orientation. We didn't think of offering it in new teacher orientation, but we utilize the half-day professional developments and full-day professional developments, and we can offer it as many times as there is demand for it. There is a Norwich Police Department has trainers, and they're very good partners to us. They partnered with us, and we brought in a trainer. Now, I think, Tamara, was it Navigant 360 or Navigate 360? And the teacher and staff feedback was that was it was a good training session with both the police and the professional trainers. So we will do it at least annually, but if the need is more than one time annually, we'll do that as well.
Okay. The second thing is like Raptor, we purchased that software, right? So
Software and hardware.
and hardware,
Yep.
so we don't have to pay annually because we bought it one time, or
Well, you bought the hardware one time, and then there'll be like an annual, I'm gonna say subscription or
Subscription
software
fee.
licensing. Correct.
but is it the similar thing with Alice program as well?
Alice is
Or
just
we
the
just-
training. It's
So we just
the-
pay for every session?
You just pay for the trainers. And if we get to the point where we could train our own trainers, then it would be free.
Yeah, that'll be cool.
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
Christine? You're up. Almost done. Are there any other questions?
I'm sorry, I did have a question. I asked, I communicated with Amber earlier about it, regarding the responsibility of running the Raptor in the school offices, if they would have enough staff to do this. Because I know how busy it can be, and it hasn't been busy yet because we haven't had as many visitors, of course. And, I know Amber responded that for the most part, some offices responded that they did want additional help, and some said no, but like I said, it's hard for them to know yet until the schools are fully open. But I know how busy a school office gets, and but I know she mentioned we have the float secretaries now in place, but how many of those do we have?
So we
I think we need to repeat the question.
yes, so
I
the
mean, we can
question was,
summarize it, but-
the question was, in brief, will the Raptor visitor management concept bring a need for more support staff in the front offices? And there are floater secretaries that have been added. How many are there? Did I capture it?
Yep.
So the floater secretary concept, think of it as a long-term sub. Because what we realized is that the Kelly Services agency, let's say I signed up to be a Kelly Services employee. I get a notification, do I want to be a teacher sub, a para sub, or a administrative assistant sub? And each district gets to prioritize what's the greatest need right now. So we prioritize the greatest need is for teacher. We need all of them, but the greatest need is for teacher, the second greatest need is for paras, and then administrative assistants. Because the fill rate is so low from Kelly Services in every sub agency, what has happened is the reality is that there have been no subs if an administrative assistant or the attendance coordinator has to be out. So we said, okay, we're just going to hire some long-term sub-secretaries just for this year till things get back to a normal workforce trajectory. And they'll float. And then if you've been in on hiring this year, what is it called, Tamara? The great resignation of 2021 is a global issue. And hiring folks has been very different than ever before in my life. They're very choosy about a lot of things. They have lots of offers on the table, and we could not find folks who would want to be on call, so they were only willing to come if they could work, on a per diem basis, certainly just like a sub. I asked the principals, would this be of help to you? The candidates have not been interested in saying, I'll be at Huntington one day and then Moriarty the next and then Mahan the next. So we said, could you use the help right now? And several of them said, yes, I'd like a floater secretary. The name's already kind of left the gate, the horse has left the gate, so we didn't change it to long-term sub-secretary, but several have asked for them. And those have been filled. The Raptor is something I'm familiar with. It's quick. You put it in, it zips through. If it doesn't ding, you're good to go. Come on in. A couple of the schools had it in the past. I believe it was Uncas and Kelly. I'm looking to see if I don't think it takes very long. But if that's the feedback we get, then we'll have to, meet and discuss what the needs are. It's important that our staff and students feel safe with vendors and visitors and volunteers coming in. It won't be the regular volunteers that are flagged. It'll be I'm picking up, I'm a parent, there's a custody order on me. We won't have to look through everything to find that out. It'll just beep.
Yeah, because that's difficulty. That is not in the Raptor. That's the thing. How often they update the software too is a whole other thing. Because we have so many people moving in and out of this community, staying updated on that.
Yes,
is
so
difficult.
just to repeat, if you haven't heard, staying updated on the software would be key. Yep,
All right, thank you.
sure.
Any other questions? Tamara, lost you. Let's hope your mic.
Good evening. Currently, as of right now, there has been no new identification of our students who are experiencing homelessness. I know that.
They can't
Can't
hear
hear
you.
you. Is the microphone on even?
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Just have to pull it up. Okay, I'll start again.
I love technology.
So there's been no new student identification that has been experiencing homelessness. Attendance still continues to be something that we're monitoring and working toward. Our school administrators and staff are continuing to work with families. Our family engagement and attendance coordinators are working with our families who have agreed to participate in our home visitation program. We've had 61 home visits to date and 32 in the month of October. And then we also are asking for parents to complete the parent survey for our school climate feedback. The survey was launched November 1st. It went out to parents the week of family conferences, which was November 3rd through the 5th, but it's still open, so parents can continue to provide feedback so that we can make that part of adjusting our plan and progress monitoring. The Board of Ed had requested for behavior data, so that is included in this report on page 4. What you will see is, that's pictured there, Below is the behavior data for 2021. It's arranged by the average number of log entries per day. The next row you'll see is arranged by the time of day. The third row is by race. The fourth row is by location, and then by subtype is the last row, meaning the type of behavior. We are averaging about 8 to 10 log entries per day. The highest number of incidences that occur has no time entered, meaning it just wasn't entered, but it's followed by our next highest, which was at 1 p.m. And you'll see that our Black and Latino students are suspended about 50% more of the time than our white students. You'll see the classroom and the bus are locations where the largest incidences are occurring. And then there are 172 incidences which do not indicate a subtype, which means it wasn't entered, into Power School, followed by leaving the class, incidences such as leaving the classroom without permission, nonverbal disrespect, throwing objects, obscene language, and physical fighting. So those are about 23 to 22 incidences that are occurring. You will also see pictured underneath the picture the state reported discipline for the years of 2018-19, 2019 to 20, 2020 to 21, and 21 to November. The previous school years are public facing. It is on edsite.gov. So if you go on that website and select students, that is up at the top of that menu, and then select discipline, you'll have that data, and you simply select Norwich to get the same data here. And if you select the link where it says state reported discipline, you'll see the discipline for each of those years by suspension, so bus suspension, in-school suspension, out-of-school suspension, and then which are the total. In the document that you have, you'll also see additional columns that'll say parent contacted, student and parent conferences. Although I kept that on there because that is what we send to the state, but the state doesn't put that on the ed site. They only will put the actual sanctions, so like the bus suspensions, the in-school suspensions, the outside of school suspensions. So I just wanted to highlight that for your reference. And at this time, you have my report. So this concludes my report, and I open for questions.
Questions for Tamara?
Not really a question, but just a comment in regard to the. I just want to say thank you for providing that behavioral health data. I know the mic is right here. I should just use that, right? And based on the report that you provided around the need to hire additional behavioral health specialists, we're seeing that as a need, and seeing that 50% of the students who have been suspended are, Hispanic and Blacks are 50% more likely to be suspended than white students. So there really is a need for us to provide additional support and services targeting to that population. So I thank you for that. One of the things that I would like to see a little bit more maybe, and you don't have to do this right now, it's just going deeper into, I know you lump sum all of the different behaviors, but I would like to see it a little bit more broken down, just so that I can see, is it more physical fight? Is it more like language? What are some of the behaviors that our students are being cited for? So that's one of the things that I wanted to request in the next report. Thank you.
Yep. So if you look on the picture, just in terms of what it is, and again, we pull this from Power School, just so you see. I'm trying to scroll down on my computer.
Subtype.
If you go to subtype,
Okay.
that will show you what the areas are. So this is the last row. It says log count, and it says subtype above that section. So you'll see assault staff, assault students, hand or feet
Click
on
the top on
others,
Zoom.
harassment, inappropriate play, and so forth.
Zoom it.
I see it, I just,
You want a better picture? I can provide.
yeah,
better
and I would
information.
like to see it broken down by race too, if possible.
Okay, sure.
I did have another question for her.
Okay.
Can I ask it?
Yes, I gave your mic away too early.
It's okay. In regard to the school climate feedback, I'm wondering how that survey is being sent out. Like, I don't know if it's being circulated in the different language, if we're utilizing the language support that we have in place, and just wanted to ask that if it's just in English right now.
Yeah.
I'm just going to repeat the question. So Carlene's question is about the school climate survey and how it's being sent out, and if we're taking advantage of the multi-language resources that we have purchased in the past.
Yes, that is something that we are working on. It is a work in progress. There are some other documents as well that we are looking to have translated, but it's the nature of the vehicle, because certain platforms that we currently have limits the number of languages that we can provide translation to.
Okay, thank you.
1 second, saying Christine?
Is it on already?
Yeah, it should be.
Ms. Closter, I just had a question regarding the response on the school climate survey thus far. Do you have an idea how many parents have responded?
About 10%.
I'm sorry, what?
About 10%.
10%.
Correct.
And a follow-up question, is there much mention of the hiring of safety officers at all in those climate surveys?
Oh, we haven't analyzed them yet. Right now is out for feedback.
All righty. So is there an actual cutoff date for them to be completed, the survey?
Yes, so we have November 12th was our cutoff date.
November 12th?
Yes.
All righty, thank you.
Sing.
In the state.
Hold on, the traveling microphone.
Oh, thank you very much. So in the state report that you have attached, the link, so seems like number has significantly dropped off though. From
Yes.
18-19 there were 859 total cases, I believe. And in 21-22 till November 8th, we have 97. Is it just because?
We're only 2 months into this.
Yeah,
Right,
yeah,
exactly.
so,
Yeah.
but even for the other years, due to just online, that's the reason? Because we were basically operating online, that's why?
So
We
no,
don't have the real numbers?
so one is there's been some work in the district around this area, and then COVID happened, right?
Yeah.
And so as you know, now, and that was in 2019, 2020, and then with 2020, 2021, we had about half the kids in at any one time. So those dynamics will reflect, you know, in terms of some of the data that's there. And then now, this year, we're back fully in person, but there's also, you know, there's some social emotional learning needs as well that our students need as well.
Thank you.
Anybody else? I don't know why I took my glasses off. Okay. So next up would be Jamie Bender, Director of Student Services, and obviously she's not
Present by report, Matt's trying to address it, I just asked him. Jamie and Bob both have their report.
It's unusual people have a hard time hearing me, but yes. So Jamie's report is attached. If there are questions for Jamie, if you would email them to me, I will get them to her. Bob,
Beth is here too. I don't want to put you on
Yeah, no, we're not gonna do, we're not gonna do that because she probably hasn't seen Jamie's report. So Bob, at our request, has, provided those additional reports, Tricia, that you and I had talked to him about, in addition to the usual, reports that are in there. Again, if there are questions or things that we need to follow up with Bob, we'll do that. I will call attention to but there are two, it looks like, budget transfers, and this he has talked to us about in previous meetings. We're following the process and doing the paperwork when we have to move funds from one line to another. And those will continue to appear in this section whenever they are required. And I would expect that we will continue to see those as Bob builds these new, budgeting format and builds this process. Mark.
Yeah. I just want to ask, he put in his report, in the facilities report, the boilers are up and running in Stanton. No problem so far, everything's running fine? Or they still need adjustments?
So the very first day that they turned on, there was an odor, and there was an evacuation out of an abundance of caution. You were
Right.
communicated to on that. I think that in his opinion, they are a success. One of the problems is that unless the entire building gets a complete facilities overhaul, which I know is being scheduled in the facilities update, it's only a boiler. So what ends up happening is if it's not every air handler in every single classroom, I think it's a completely different system that you couldn't build for without knocking down walls of the school, then teachers, when the heat turns on, teachers will probably need to open their classroom windows because it will get very hot. And that is not a great thing to have happen in terms of efficiency of fuel. But until we can do an entire overhaul of the building, this was the only option that was available to the engineers and contractors. And the good news is we have heat. But the bad news is in some cases we have an abundance of heat.
Yeah, well, we have a new boiler, but we're still dealing with 50, 60-year-old radiators.
When the whole building is older. And so I know that we all sleep well at night knowing the boiler won't fail, but the facilities overhaul of the buildings is still essential.
Right.
Sing.
And I just want to say thank you to Bob and Maria, because we did had one concern from parent about if there is no sidewalks available and they are still within 1 mile, bus will not entertain their request for pickup. But now they have attached a whole mechanism that parent can request them by filling up this form which is attached in it, and decision can be made on case-to-case basis.
So quite frankly, you are to be congratulated for that effort. It's not a mechanism that was in place here before, but it is a mechanism that Bob had in his former district, I had in my former district, something like this, where a parent could say, this policy doesn't work for my extenuating circumstances, and then a team can look at it, investigate it, and make a ruling that's reasonable and the safest for the student. And so we didn't realize that wasn't something that was done previously, and I thank you for bringing it up, and they added that quite quickly. Please communicate to the parents that
Sure.
that's an opportunity now.
Thank you.
That's interesting that, Aaron Daniels, that's interesting that we didn't think that existed, since that was the first job I had when I joined the Board of Education.
You were,
I was on transportation, and
there was a
and
transportation.
there was somebody didn't understand. That was the first job I had, so.
So it was like a board designee job.
Yes.
Interesting. Well, because
That's right.
Do you remember? Well, can you send me the particulars later? maybe that's something you might want to
Sure.
explore going forward. That'd be great. All we have is residency and the other typical committees. Bob will be thrilled. He will be. He enjoys that very much, meeting on, he's gonna be sad he missed the boiler question. I just know it.
The boiler. Okay, so that brings us to new business, and you will see there are two policies there for first read. I think they're both.
They're nearly identical.
Do you need? Yeah.
Here. I'm gonna take it.
This is getting ridiculous.
So the, what you're seeing under new business is the first read of the bullying, bullying and prevention update from Shipman and Goodwin. And I think Tamara worked on this with legal, but this, you can see that the strikeouts are largely in item number 19, and they've expanded the definition of bullying to the advantage of children, to be honest. It's not as narrow as it was in the past. And I don't know if you want me to read the addition, or if it would be helpful to those in the audience. It's one paragraph.
Yeah, I think you should read it.
As it now says, as required by state law, the board, after consultation with the Connecticut Department of Education and the Connecticut Social Emotional Learning and School Climate Advisory Collaborative, shall provide on the board's website training materials to the school administrators regarding the prevention and intervention in discrimination against and targeted harassment of students based on such students' actual or perceived differentiating characteristics such as race, color, religion, ancestry, national origin, gender, sexual orientation, gender identity or expression, socioeconomic status, academic status, physical appearance, or mental, physical, developmental, or sensory disability, or 2, association with individuals or groups who have or are perceived to have one or more of such characteristics. As required by state law, the board shall post on its website the plain language explanation of rights and remedies under Connecticut General Statutes 10-4A and 10-4B, as developed and provided to the board by the Connecticut Social Emotional Learning and School Climate Advisory Collaborative. So that's the first recommended policy change, and the second is to the Safe School Climate Plan, and it eliminates in the definition of bullying the repeated use by one or more students of written, oral, or electronic communication such as cyberbullying directed at or referring to another student attending school in the same district, or a physical act of gesture by one or more students repeatedly directed at another student attending school in the same district. And it changes it to be more broad, an act that is direct or indirect and severe, persistent, or pervasive. So I think this is really welcoming to parents, because sometimes in the past, parents have said, well, it's bullying, but it didn't meet the legal definition of bullying because it wasn't repeated and repeated. Even something severe didn't count as bullying in terms of the state law and the policy definition. So that's, I think, a welcome change that we would really urge you to adopt. And they have changed hostile environment to infringes on the rights or opportunities of an individual, which is also more expansive. And so I think they've added a definition for emotional intelligence, a definition for positive school climate, and a definition for social emotional learning, and some additions to the Safe School Climate Plan. So we really honor and appreciate the changes that were made by legal, and we recommend them to you fully. You have first read tonight, and then adoption would be at the December meeting.
Okay. There is nothing listed under unfinished business. That brings us to committee reports. Several are attached. I will just call your attention again to that rescheduled school building committee presentation on November 16th. 6:30 in the community room. I'm not sure how it's going to be posted, how it's going to be advertised with the agenda or whatever. I will tell you, there's going to be a short business meeting at the beginning. Don't not come at 6:30 because it's going to be very short. So if you're interested in that presentation and speaking with those folks, plan to be here for 6:30. There will be probably approval of minutes or two, and then we'll adjourn and move on to that next piece. But so, like I said, if you're interested in being a part of that or having a conversation, be here for 6:30. Yeah, go ahead.
I urge everyone, please, come to that meeting so you know what's going on and you can have some input into, I'm on the committee, and as Heather said, she's done as of this evening.
Actually, that's not how it works.
Another meeting,
This is the
right.
board until the new board is
To the
sworn
new board's in, but I mean, she won't be on that building committee.
Like
So
26
please, and don't hesitate to contact me if you have any suggestions. We want this whole process as transparent as possible. And you're the ones working in those buildings and, and dealing with the children directly. So we want to hear what you have to say. So please don't hesitate, and please encourage parents to come next week. Okay? Thank you. Thank you, Heather.
Yeah, thank you. Does anyone have any questions about any of the posted reports or anything else for discussion?
I'll use my 1 minute for board report.
Go ahead.
Well, I just want to say thank you to all of you. I didn't thought job will be so much fun with all of you guys. I learned a lot from everyone's experience, and I didn't feel like 2 years are already gone, So, of course, I won't miss my long negotiation and budget committee meetings, but I did get to know some of you more than others by serving in that committee. And of course, it seems like it's time for me for a new adventure and some new responsibilities that voters of Norwich has given me. So I look forward to serving my city. And I also want to say thank you to our administration, Dr. Stringfellow, Jamie Bender, Sarah, Bob, Amber, Tamara, for making things happen in our school district, which were very important to some of our board members, especially some things like related to diversity, which we were able to accomplish, like cultural calendar or more inclusive curriculum. And thank you for accommodating my veggie sandwich. And I just want to say, I understand how much time and effort it takes to be away from family and doing something for a community. So thank you all for your service, and please be in touch. I'm not going anywhere else. I might be in touch with you in different committee or, but please be in touch. Thank you. I will miss you all. Thank you.
Thanks, Singh. Anyone else? Go ahead, Yvette.
Well, after serving on the board for 14 years, I'm not going to be serving anymore, but I enjoyed working with different board members, with different parents, with different people, and it opened my eyes to what our community really is, because I was isolated in a way, but now I understand much better the needs of the community. And I just want to thank the voters of Norwich for allowing me to serve 7 terms. That's 14 years. And I enjoyed every minute of it. Sometimes I was frustrated, but I got over it, and we had to solve the problem. So thank you, citizens of Norwich and my board members. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
glad my numbers matched her numbers. Because that would have been embarrassing. Okay, on that note, Mr. Kulos.
Okay, pursuant to Connecticut General Statute 1-200, members of the Board of Education move to go into executive session for discussion of the Norwich Teachers League contract, as well as to review the Norwich Administrators Association contract. Drs. Kristen E. Stringfellow, Tamara Gloucester, Jamie Bender, and Amber Rutigliano may be asked to participate for some or all of the executive session at the request of the Board of Education.
So moved.
Second.
So that's Mark and Tricia. Mark's. Any discussion? Okay, we will adjourn to executive session. Just for folks who are here in the audience, we're gonna go into the community.
We're going in the green room.
Oh, we're going in the green room. And then we'll return here so that any votes that are taken are public.
What are we taking with us? Tricia, I don't want to trip you at all.
Yeah, that's it.
I've taken the wrong laptop with me. It's my gift. I always grab the wrong